Lip gloss and hair don't mix. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Allie. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you for not being sick of me yet. So it is the end of February. It is reading wrap-up time. Most of the books, I would say like 80% of what I read this month was all on Kindle. So shout out to Kindle Unlimited. You should really go get it if you don't have it. It's a great place to read new books. But yeah, let's get right into it. So first off this month, I read Bet the Farm by Stacey Hart. This is like a enemies to lovers, childhood best friends to lovers vibes. Olivia grew up on this farm. She eventually moved to New York to get a fancy new job. She used to live with her grandpa, who is the owner of this farm. He dies, so the farm is being transferred into her hands. So she comes home from New York to kind of take care of all the legal things of it, where she reunites with Jake, a boy that she's grown up with her whole life on the farm, who basically took everything over when she left from New York, and he kind of has this grudge against her for leaving, and like he thinks that she thinks she's better than everybody because she's this big high-class society New York girl now, and like she possibly couldn't want anything to do with the farm, and she's just gonna sell it, and she's not even gonna try and like fix it. So Olivia is trying to come back and get the farm back on its feet. She doesn't necessarily want to sell it, and Jake doesn't believe her, and they just kind of go head to head and battle each other the whole book because neither one of them wants to accept change or accept help from one another. I live on a farm, so I thought it was cute. I think I 3 or 4 starred it. It was cute, but I mean, it was a short standalone book, and it wasn't my favorite, but I definitely still recommend it, so go check it out if you have not. Next is Bad Cruise by LJ Shen. This is another enemies to lovers. I was kind of on a weird enemies to lovers kick for like the beginning of this whole month, but this follows Cruz in Tennessee. Tennessee's sister and Cruz's brother are getting married, so they are now going to be family. They went to high school together. Tennessee has the reputation around town of being like this messy girl that can't get her life together because she got pregnant in high school and had to drop out, and so everyone has judged her on that, including Cruz. So she doesn't like Cruz. Cruz doesn't necessarily like her. Tennessee is put in charge of getting their tickets for this cruise that both of their families are going on to just spend time together and get to know each other better. And she books her and Cruz's tickets for the wrong cruise line. I've never been on a cruise. I don't know what that's called. But they get tickets for the wrong cruise. So they spend half of this vacation together. Close proximity trope. Things go from there. I think I 3-starred this because it does have a lot of like weird misogyny stuff in it that I'm not a fan of. But I do recommend it as enemies to lovers. I thought it was an okay storyline. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite, that's for sure. But yeah, Bad Cruise by LJ Shen. So the next up is Pride and Paper Cuts by Stacey Hart. This is a Pride and Prejudice modern retelling. This follows Liam and Lainey. Liam is this big corporate CEO guy. Lainey works at a bookish bar. It's a bar with books in it. Again, if no one has made this a thing, make this a thing. I'm begging you, I will spend my entire 20s there, which I'm currently in, but you know, do it. Lainey's bar has partnered to work with Liam's company to just kind of get better publicity and stuff. Liam is kind of a dick, and because he is this big fancy CEO, has the air of I'm better than you, and Lainey and most other people don't like that about him. She ends up like having to work in his office for business stuff, kind of close proximity. There's also a subplot of Lainey's brother and Liam's sister falling in love and getting together, and honestly I kind of like their love story a little bit better than Lainey and Liam's, but it's cute. I think I 3-starred it because it is just a Pride and Prejudice retelling. You know what's gonna happen. I feel like I've definitely read better retellings, but it was still cute. I still recommend it. Enemies to lovers, so go check it out if you haven't. So then next up is The Enemy Trap by Maureen Moore. This is a pregnancy trope book, and it's a pregnancy trope book that like starts very early on. Like the pregnancy trope starts like in the first 3 chapters. So I don't really know how to explain it without it being spoiler-ish. So it's a very early set pregnancy trope. I don't like pregnancy trope books, so I think that I gave this like 2 stars for that reason only. If you like pregnancy trope books, go for it. I won't judge you for it. Everybody likes what they like. I personally am just not a fan of it. If you like pregnancy trope books, I recommend this. And also it just kind of seemed like Wattpad-y to me. It didn't feel really like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of character development or like plot development. It was just like, we went to high school together and we didn't like each other, but oops, now we're pregnant and we're in love. That's what the whole thing thing feels like to me. So I two-starred it because I didn't necessarily care for it. I still read the whole thing. I didn't DNF it. But I guess if you like pregnancy trope books, you should still check it out if you have not. Next, I read Brightside by Kim Holden. This book ripped my heart out, threw it on the pavement, ran it over with a bus, and then had it karate chopped in half by like 17 black belt martial artists. Martial artists. My god. This book is very much Fault in Our Starsy, Full Tilt All In. Full Tilt All In is like my favorite duet to ever exist. So I adore this book. This follows Kate, Keller, and Gus. It's a little bit of a love triangle situation, but like lightly. It's not like an annoying love triangle. Kate has had this childhood best friend, Gus. He's in a band. She goes to college, and Gus is currently touring with his band. Gus has always had feelings for Kate, but he has never admitted them. They like drunkenly hooked up once in high school, and they never did it again. They've just always really been really good friends, and nobody has really done anything about any sort of romantic attraction between the two of them. And then when Kate is in college, she meets Keller, who works at the coffee shop she goes to every day, and they just have this instant connection. They don't know what it is or like what to call it, but they are just drawn to each other, and so they strike up this really fast friendship. They do express that they have romantic feelings for each other, but Keller is hiding things from Kate. Kate is hiding things from Keller. They eventually start dating, and all those secrets come to light. I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. I cannot recommend it enough. I loved this book so much. If you have not read it, please go read it. Kate's character, like, she's a girl that gets along with everybody, but they didn't write her in like a I'm different than other girls way. Like, she's just such like a genuine character, and like I want to be her. I want to have her personality and be able to just so openly and willingly be yourself and put yourself out there, which once you get into the book and you understand her backstory and her storyline, you understand why she acts the way that she does. But it's just like, I want to act the way that Kate acts. I want to be her. But please go read this if you have not. It's so good. I adore it. Please. So then next up, with an actual book, I read Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. This, I believe I 4-starred simply because the ending I didn't care for. I felt like the ending was super rushed. But this is like a second chance romance. So this follows Matt and Grace. They meet in college. Matt is a photography major. Grace is a music major. They again have this instant connection that they can't explain, and they become best friends very quickly. They do the whole thing of we're dating, but we didn't put a label on it, so we're not dating, but like we're not stupid, they're dating. Matt has this opportunity with National Geographic to, over the summer, go to South America and do photography for National Geographic. And Kate also has an opportunity to go on like this music tour thing in London. And originally Grace doesn't want to go, and Matt wants to go on his trip, and they're like, hey, like we can make long distance work, like we'll call each other, everything's gonna be fine. So Matt leaves, and then for a reason you figure out once you start reading, Grace decides that she is going to go to London. She's gonna go do what she wants. She goes on tour to London, and they just, as you read the book, find out that they just lose all contact for like 7 years. They graduate, everything, never see each other again. And one day Matt is on lunch break going out to eat lunch with his boss in New York, and they are getting onto the subway, and he sees across the subway platform Grace as she's stepping onto this subway, and like their eyes meet across the room, and it's just like this spark instantly connects again. But she's on the subway, and so the subway drives off, and he's just like, oh my gosh, like that was Grace, like what? So he puts a misconnections ad in the newspaper, basically like you were standing across the subway platform, like you have green eyes, we knew each other so long ago, but like whatever shall we do, call me. But yeah, he puts a misconnections ad in the newspaper to try and see if she'll get a hold of him again, because he doesn't know where she lives, her phone number, what she does for work, anything, and they reconnect. But yeah, it's a cute story. I loved the whole sections of them in college, the flashbacks of them in college, how they became friends and how their relationship started. That was my favorite part of the book. I loved that entire section, no complaints. The ending for me is where it lost it. That's what brought me from a 5 to a 4-star. I felt like the ending was just super rushed. I feel like it's not really a spoiler to say that like they meet each other again, and then it's just like they're instantly in love and everything's happy again. Like I felt like they really could have done a lot more with it than what they did, but I definitely still recommend it. It's a great story, cute storyline. If you like second chance romances, you will like this one. But yeah, Go check it out if you have not. So then next is a very old reread. I reread one of my middle school staples, The Summer I Turned Pretty series by Jenny Han. I recommended this for my Friends to Lovers video. I will tag that if you have not watched that yet and that's something you're interested in. But I also reread it for that video because I have not read it in years. This is also a very old 3-book in one set, and that's why it's this fat. This is a 3-book trilogy, and I just have an old copy with very yellow pages because I've had it since probably 2011. I think I honestly love this series better than To All the Boys. I've also read all of To All the Boys and love it, but I definitely think that I've always liked The Summer I Turned Pretty better. This series stands. I will forever give this 5 stars. It's not even 5 stars for nostalgia. It's 5 stars because I love the storyline and I love the characters. So this follows Isabella, normally called throughout the book Belly, her brother Stephen, and then her childhood best friends Jeremy and Conrad. So Jeremy and Conrad's mom and Belly and Stephen's mom have been best friends their entire lives, but they live like across the country from each other. So every summer, Belly and her family go to Conrad and his family's beach house. So they spend all summer, every summer together, every year since they were born. But that's the only time they ever see each other. The rest of the year, they go about their separate lives. It's also kind of a love triangle. Again, not in a super annoying way. I know love triangles can get like this. Belly has always had a crush on the oldest brother Conrad, but because he's older, she's always just been like, he doesn't like me, like I'm just the weird little kid's sister, and she's just always had those vibes from him. And that's kind of the whole first book. The second book is her with one of the other brothers, and then the third book is her with the other brother and a game. This is 3 books in one, so I feel like I don't want to say much and just like spoil all 3 books, but it's definitely childhood friends to lovers. Definitely kind of got like some bad boy good girl vibes to it. I cannot recommend the series enough. If you like To All the Boys, you will definitely love it. I love Jenny Han. In my opinion, this series is superior. It stands up since 2011. I will never not give it 5 stars. This book is well read. Look at this. I cannot tell you how many times I've reread this entire book. Please go check it out if you have not. It's also being turned into an Amazon Prime series, I believe. So if you want to watch that and you like are a person that wants to read books first, read it. Very YA, so it's gonna be a very quick read. You could probably have all 3 books read in less than a week. If you really stay on it, definitely less than a week. Go check it out if you have not. I cannot recommend it enough. So then back over to the Kindle side, I read Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Twisted series. It just came out. This is a companion novel series, 3rd one of the 2 that are out, and then 1 more is coming. It has not been published yet. Go read the whole series if you have not. This one specifically is enemies to lovers thing. This follows Josh and Jules. Josh and Jules have never gotten along. Jules is Josh's sister's best friend. They've known each other their entire lives and they don't like each other. Josh thinks that Jules is like a bad influence on his sister and is super like impulsive and like weird and kind of a slut. But they are forced to go on a vacation with Josh's sister and her fiance, boyfriend at the time. So it's got a little bit of forced proximity. Enemies to lovers. They eventually fall in love. But I thought this book was really cute. I think I 4-starred it. It wasn't my favorite of the whole series, but it wasn't my least. I recommend the whole Twisted series. It's Twisted Games, Twisted Love, and Twisted Hate now. But go check them out if you haven't. So then next up, I read Starling by Isabel Strychaz. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce this. I think it's Strychaz. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. But I simply bought this at Barnes & Noble because I thought the cover was pretty. I knew nothing about this going in, never seen it recommended anywhere. I was just like, this is a gorgeous cover, and even if I don't like it, it'll be an aesthetically pretty book. But I read it, gave it 3 stars, so wasn't my favorite, but definitely not bad, and I will 100% recommend it. It's very YA to me, and it's a fairly short book. It's a standalone. It's barely 400 pages. I think I read it in like a day. I do recommend it. It's good, but it definitely could use something more. But I'm also 22 and slowly kind of growing out of the YA phase too, so if you like YA books, I definitely think you'll like this. But this follows Delta and B. They are sisters. They have always had this weird connection with like magic in the spirit world, and the town that they live in kind of disowns them. They're all like, oh, like the Wilding family is weird, like don't talk to them, like we don't be seen with them, something's wrong with them. And one day B and Delta's father goes missing. He opens a closet and gets like sucked into a portal and hasn't come back. It's been like 2 or 3 months now and he has never come back. So they're also trying to hide the fact that their dad's missing so that like they don't get taken away by like CPS or something. But one day they are outside and they see this meteor, like the shooting star, go overhead, and it crashes in their backyard. So they got into their backyard and there is this boy made of stars in their backyard whose name ends up being Starling. Delta is like teaching him human life, where he's like, oh my gosh, a dog, I love this thing, like music, dancing, what is this? So it's really cute in that aspect, and it does have kind of like the weird mystery vibes to it. I don't want to get more into it without spoiling it, but I do recommend it. I 3-starred it if you like kind of supernatural romance. YA, so nothing spicy, they just kiss. Spoiler alert, I guess. But I do recommend it. But yeah, go check it out if you have not. So then next up, I read Rhapsodic, is that how you say it? Rhapsodic by Laura Talesa. This is another one that I knew nothing about, was never recommended to me. It just came across my Kindle page and I was just bored and was like, I'll try it. I guess this is a really big series. I have not read any of the rest of the series. I 3-starred this one. It was cute. Again, wasn't my favorite. I don't necessarily know if I'm drawn to it enough to finish the series, but I might. But this follows Calypso and the Bargainer. This is the first book in the Bargainer series. Calypso and the Bargainer meet after she has accidentally killed her abusive stepfather. Calypso lives in like a weird like werewolf fairy human world where all the mythical creatures kind of coexist, and then the Bargainer is this criminal that like trades favors for himself. I don't really know how to explain it, but Calypso calls him and she's like, hey, like trade for a trade, like take care of my dad and I will do something for you in the future, which she says yes to. He hides the fact that she killed her stepdad and whatever, and he gives her a bead for saying that she owes him a favor. But they have this weird relationship where it's like she just becomes lonely and she calls the Bargainer over to see her like once a day, simply to just like hang out and talk. So by the time we get to present day, she has like her whole forearm is just covered in his favor beads because they've simply just like become friends. And you can see as the story progresses in the flashbacks that there is just like this unspoken romance thing going on between them, and they reconnect as adults because he starts cashing in all of his favors and he needs her to help him with the situation over in Fairyland. It was a cute storyline. Again, 3 stars. I'm not sure if I'll finish the series. It was kind of simple to me. It definitely could have had more potential to be more than what it was, but I recommend it if you're looking for just kind of like a cute, short, quick fantasy read and a potential new series. But yeah, check it out if you have not. So then next up, my big anticipated read for the month is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second Crescent City book. My first one is back there on my shelf. I am a big fan of ACOTAR and Crescent City. I have not read Throne of Glass yet because I know that Sarah Maas has had some issues with being like a cancelable author. The only reason that I bought this brand new is because it was a new release and I wouldn't have been able to find it secondhand for like a year at least, and I just personally didn't want to wait that long. But Throne of Glass, I've just been slowly looking through like thrift stores and stuff, trying to piece the series together that way to try not to have to buy her books right from her personally. But this one I did. I wanted to read it. This is the only way I could, so I'm sorry. But it was good. I 5-starred this, but it probably would have been a 4-star like up until the end. I don't really know how to explain it without spoiling a lot for the whole series because these are ginormous books. This is like an 800-page book, and I think the first one is at least 600. So I'll do a general overview, but for the second one specifically, I enjoyed it, but I feel like I liked the storyline of the first one better, like the whole bad guy who they're fighting. I liked that storyline better. This one for me, I felt like I had to drag through a little bit. Whole like first half, I was just kind of like, okay, this is what's going on. But like the second half to the end, things really picked up and got more into it, and I really enjoyed it from then. But overall, Crescent City follows Bryce and Hunt. Bryce is part human and fae. Hunt is an angel who is currently a slave for like their archangel rulers, and he's kind of like a bounty hunter. He goes and like kills most wanted people. Hunt works at this fancy antique shop that's full of like old magical relics and stuff. One day, Bryce's best friend Danica, who is a werewolf, her and her entire pack is just murdered like super graphically. Like they're basically just piled piles of pulp, and it's found to be like linked to like this weird drug network and stuff. So Hunt is kind of put on the case to figure out what the hell happened and why they are all dead when they were seen alive by Bryce like 2 hours earlier. And so Bryce kind of teams up with Hunt to help him figure everything out. It's enemies to lovers in the first book because Hunt just kind of looks at Bryce as this annoying, self-entitled party girl. Bryce hates Hunt for thinking that. So definitely enemies to lovers in the first book. If you like ACOTAR, you will like this because it's kind of the same like world building type vibe. It's like ACOTAR but more modern with like cell phones and stuff. But I love this series. If you like ACOTAR, Sarah J Maas, Throne of Glass, I definitely recommend the series. Go check it out if you haven't. Definitely a time-consuming read. They're big books. But yeah, so then next I read To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. This I've seen recommended a lot. It's a fairly popular book, but it's a book that I feel like people has either really liked or really hated. It's kind of been one on either end. I think I 3-starred this. It's kind of like a Little Mermaid retelling type thing, except instead of like a mermaid, she's a siren. But this follows Lyra, who's a siren, and Elian, who is a prince. Elian is a siren hunter. Lyra gets in trouble by her mom, who is like the queen of the ocean. She's like the siren queen, and she banishes Lyra to be a human. Like, she takes away her fins and takes away her song so she can't do siren stuff to people. And her mom basically tells her like, the only way you can come home is if you bring me Prince Elian's heart. So that's her plan. Prince Elian finds her just like drowning in the ocean while he's out on his ship, because Elian kind of hates the fact that he's a prince and wants to be a pirate. He has like a whole pirate ship and crew that he's gone on all the time. So they find Lyra and take her on board. Nobody really trusts her at first. It's definitely enemies to lovers. It was okay. I 3-starred it. It wasn't great. If this was a series, I don't necessarily know if I'd read the rest of it. But if you like Little Mermaid type things, nautical vibes, I recommend it. It was alright. So then next I read What Lies Beyond the Veil by Harper L. Woods. This, I saw a TikTok by the author of her like explaining her book, and it seemed interesting. It was on Kindle Unlimited, so I got it. I 3-starred it. I don't know if this is correct, but for some reason I'm thinking there's going to be 4 books for it. I could be totally wrong, but I know it's going to be a series, but I believe it's just the first one that's out. This is Fays and humans separated between a wall. There's just like this invisible wall with humans on one side, Fays on the other, and it's like once every few years the veil breaks and a bunch of humans get these weird marks on them, and then the Fae come to take them, and the humans have always been told that the Fae take them to like torture and kill them. So when the veil breaks, the humans attack and like kill a bunch of the Fae so they can't take anybody who's marked, and then they kill all the marked humans so that the Fae can't find them. So it's basically, if you're a marked human or a Fae, you get massacred anytime the wall comes down. Our main characters are Estrella and Calum. Estrella is a human. Calum, it would be a spoiler alert, so Calum is simply Calum. He exists in the world. Estrella lives in this super gross town where women are valued on whether or not they're virgins and creepy crap like that. They do human sacrifice and stuff, and she's chosen to be the human sacrifice, and right as they're about to like chop her head off, the veil falls and she is marked. So her brother kind of like takes her and runs, and they just start running to try and escape this group of guard people that are meant to kill anybody who's marked. But she eventually runs into Calum, who is also marked, and they go about the journey together. I feel like anything beyond this is spoilery. I 3-starred it. It again seemed very simple. It's got some spice to it. Spice level out of 5 I would say is maybe a 3, so it's not super bad. There's not a lot of it. There's only like a chapter or 2 with actual spice. I don't know if I'm super drawn to reading the rest of the series. It's kind of like an ACOTAR Bargainer series kind of mixed together. Fairies, humans, enemies to lovers. If you're into that thing and you want a new recommendation for it and you haven't checked it out, check it out. You might like it a little bit more than me. I can't necessarily point my finger on why exactly I didn't like it, but it just didn't have it. It's a very unique mating system how she went about it. That was probably my favorite thing. So if you like the human fairy mate thing, definitely check it out. And then finally, last but not least, I read Terms and Conditions by Laura Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaires series. It just came out. The first one is Fine Print, which is a super popular book. This is a companion novel series that follows 3 brothers who work for basically like the Disneyland of this version. Disneyland doesn't exist in this world. It's their Adventureland or whatever it's called. This whole Dreamland park has been owned by Cal, Declan, and Rowan's grandfather, who has recently died and has left Declan, Rowan, and Cal rights to the whole Dreamland park. Like, one of them is going to be the CEO, one of them is yada yada yada, but they are all left with weird terms and conditions about how they get their inheritance. And for the second book specifically, Declan's is he's supposed to get married and have kids and start a family and be happy with his life. If he doesn't do that, he can't get his inheritance for Dreamland from his grandpa. So this is a fake dating marriage of convenience book. He ends up marrying his assistant Iris. Enemies to lovers too, they don't get along. If you like Marriage for One or like Wall of Winnipeg, any of those types of books, you will definitely like this. I 4-starred it, but it was very good. This whole series is popular for a reason. I can't recommend it enough, but go check them out if you have. But yeah, those are all the books that I have read in the month of February. It was a very Kindle Unlimited heavy month. I highly recommend Kindle Unlimited. If you don't have it, you can find a lot of great books for free with just their monthly price. There's a never-ending amount of books, and a lot of them are super popular series that are all over Book Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys read any of the books that I've read, let me know what you thought about them. If you have any series that you think I would like after hearing what I've read this month, let me know. Did you guys agree with my opinions? Did you not? What did you guys read this month? Let me know. But yeah, I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. If you'd like to follow me on any of my social medias, they will all be linked down below, as well as on my home screen channel banner. But yeah, I love you guys. I appreciate you for hanging out with me. Please stay safe, and I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Bye.